yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my happy place, the Yarn Corner here on Vancouver Island in Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Sunday, September the 4th, 2022, and this is video number 153. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I've been away for a hot minute. I think about 4 weeks ago, I uploaded one video in August and now we're sitting here in September. Good reason for that though. I've been away and I've been exploring this new to us community. I've had visitors from Australia. My mum and her husband Robert have been with us for 5 weeks. They had left last week and they made their journey back home to Australia, which is a long trek. Anyway, they made it back safely and we've done our Skype date and checked in, and yeah, we missed them already. But because of that, I've been away and I've been missing all of my yarny friends. So I'm glad that I can come back now and, you know, flag some of these experiences that I had with my family from Australia when they were here. I'm going to dedicate a video later down the way talking about all of the excursions and the fun places that we went to. And this video that I'm going to be talking of things that I've been doing are the crafty things. So my finished objects, my works in progress, and all of that other yarny good stuff. So I hope that you'll enjoy the content and stick around to get some little bit of life date updates at the end of the video of what I've been up to. So this video is also, it has some happy mail because I received some things and they've been sitting here with me for a while. I have opened them and I just want to acknowledge the people that have sent me things and say a heartfelt thank you for them. So let's get cracking. The first little bit is going to be my finished objects. And as you can tell here on my man form or dress form is a shawl that I crocheted, and I finished it, talked about it in the last podcast. But I said I was going to drape it around my man form here, and it's Crystal over at Bag a Day, her tutorial on the easy crochet shawl. Now I'll link any patterns or any people that I talk about that have YouTube channels down below in the description box. So if you're looking to find a connection somewhere, you can link over to the easy access things down below in the description box. So yeah, I used, it was Red Heart, it's a wrap, it's called Sprinkles, and I paired it with a Yarnby yarn called Rhapsody, and it was in the Ivy League colorway. Just a gray, going from a darkish gray to more of a light pale gray. So really nice to work with. I paired them together. As I crocheted it, I used a 6mm crochet hook. So you may recall that in my last video, I asked for suggestions on names to call my man dress form here, and I got an overwhelming response of such wonderful suggestions. It was hard for me to pick. I had some in my mind as well on naming this form, but in the end what resonated with me was the name Hank. I didn't even think of that. That was a suggestion by my friend Ginny, and I want to say thank you, Ginny, for making that suggestion. So my man form is going to be called Hank. Now, a little bit about, if you're interested in where I found Hank, I was surfing on Amazon CA, so that's Canada, and I found lots of different forms, but none that were sizable like Hank is. He's great because you can dial up different widths around, I think, 3 parts of his body, and you adjust the form to fit the shape and size of the garment of the person that you're making it for. So it kind of saves on time for fittings, and you've always got like the form there to, you know, I guess drape your thing over to see whether it fits. And here it is here. This one is Mr. Taylor. So I guess he's Hank Taylor. And I believe I purchased him for around $200 and something. And it's going to be with me for life. And I'm going to be looking at maybe, you know, one day doing some tailoring, perhaps with fabric and making clothes. So it's going to be around for multiple reasons, but also at this point, just for me making my wearables. And it goes to the size of my chest, so I don't have to always stop and try things on. I can just use the form. Really, really sturdy form here. It's got lots of attachable parts that you can extend the stand and raise the form up and down for height. If you're making a long trench coat, it's good for that because it's not going to drape on the floor. And yeah, I like it because he's got a fabric body which allows you to pin certain things onto the actual form itself. And I'm happy with it, really am. So that's done, out the way. Let's look at the first finished object. I had shown this object, it is a shawl, a crocheted shawl, in a previous episode where it was half finished and it was quite a beast. It's called the Edlothia, which is a crocheted shawl by Morben Design, and it is like a 22 page pattern. But what I found was around page 15, it's all written out pattern, and then it basically has an extra 7 pages on the end with photographs and with charts. Now the charts are a little hand crafted charts, like with sketches, rather than an electronic clean cut way of reading the chart. So if you're looking for patterns and you really just use charts for it, this pattern, when you purchase it, doesn't have great charts. They're not very clear. I used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and the yarn that I used was from Hobbii yarn, and it is their Cotton King Sultan Deluxe, and the colorway is called, I think I only have a number here, it's number 5. So that's the band. And it came in a cake form. I used the whole cake for this pattern, and I had to cut into a second cake. So luckily Hobbii, when they sent me yarn to review, I had requested that colorway, and they sent me 2 because I had suggested I would be making this pattern. And lucky for me, the person who was packing my bag at Hobbii thought he's going to need a little bit more. So I used my 1,000 meters of the first cake, and I think I probably used about another 100 to 200 meters of the second cake. So a little bit of the second cake was used. So if you're looking to make this pattern, just a tip, get 2 cakes. Unless your cake has say 1,200 meters, then you're set. You're good to go. So here it is here. Da, 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 da. I don't know whether I can get back far enough to show it all in, because it is a beast. I'm going to say the wingspan of this from corner to corner is around 8 feet long, and from the middle part here where my chin is to the base of the point, it's probably around 3.5 feet. So a nice shawl that has more length than depth, which is always the types of shawls that I like. And I'm going to add in a few photographs of this so that you can get a better sense of what it looks like and come back. The Edlothia, well, my Edlothia hasn't been blocked yet, so the sizing that I gave you before, the 8 foot width and 3.5 feet in depth, I think might change as you dampen it and then you lay it down. The stitches do relax, and I think the sizing will change to a different length. I will do a blocking on this piece. Right now I'm happy with the way it looks and it feels with the draping and also the definition of the stitch work. And yeah, so I'll get around to doing it. But I want to talk about all the learns that I had along the way with the Edlothia pattern. I've classified them in my mind as 9 sections because I was learning something new in different areas of the pattern. It doesn't break down into sections at all, but the way that I was reading it was almost like chapters in a story, and each little section gave me a new thing to mull over, or a new kind of technique. And then once I was perfecting a rhythm or getting used to the rhythm, it switched to the next section and it gave me a whole new kind of story to tell in the next section. And it's a wonderful make, because at some points you don't really see the pattern until you get to the 5th row or the 6th row, so to speak. And then when you sit back and you look at the work, you just see how it drapes and it falls down. All these little flowers come out, or the shapes of diamonds, or a little hexagon comes out. It's just an amazing treat of discovery. I really like doing this, and I could see myself doing a lot more in this style of crochet. There was one area in this make, section 5, I'm classifying it as, where the chaining of the suggested stitch work was a little tighter, and I felt that when I was stopping and looking at it, sort of seeing how it was going to relax, I did have the idea that it was going to pull in a little bit in that section. But lucky for me, when I was showing the work, I was at the end of section 4, starting section 5, and that's where the section was that had the tighter chain work. So a friend on YouTube suggested, hey, check out, maybe look at section 5, and where they say to add 3 chains, add a 4th one in the repeats along the way, and you'll find that it drapes a lot nicer with the pattern. So I had already done that half of that section already, but I pulled it back because I agreed with Katja. Thank you for that comment. And I went back and redid the section. I think there were maybe 6 rows where that was happening. So I pulled back and basically added in the 4 chains instead of 3. So if you're ever tackling Edlothia and you feel the same way, that perhaps maybe section 5 is getting a little bit tight, and it's not draping as nicely as the rest of the shawl, then add in the extra chain. Next up is a piece that I crocheted. It came from, or stemmed from, my learn and my design of the Festive Dragon Chevron Scarf. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. With that chevron scarf that I mentioned, it only had the 1 chevron, but I wanted to learn how to calculate series of those chevrons together and have a really, really long kind of like wrap. So I knew that I wanted to do an alternate stitch to the chevron, so using that chevron in the bottom and then wanting to make a different stitch in the second half, or the second section of the wrap. And I came up with this. So it is a bit long. I can't show this completely in the camera, but the width is around 6 feet in from side to side, and the narrow section here that wraps around you is probably around 2 feet maybe, so 24 inches. I had done my chevrons down here, so the Festive Dragon Chevron, and I did multiples. So you can see that the raised ridge is there and it goes across the bottom. Now with this chevron scarf, it's not reversible. You don't get that ridge happening on the opposite side. It just happens on the right side. So there is a right side, wrong side to this, as opposed to the other chevron scarf that I did. And I absolutely had so much fun with this. I balanced up these little valleys of the chevron with a different stitch, like a little bit of a lace work here where there's a little hexagon, and then I did the arcade stitch once it got flat. So the learn for me was taking it from a chevron, flattening it out, and then making a second part of it in these little archways. And to me, that reminded me of the scales of the dragon. So you get that sort of, it's almost like a Nordic feel where you've got scales on some sort of animal, like a fantasy creature, and then these are the feathery type wings or chainmail that come off of the scales of the dragon. And then just to finish it off is this couple of color rows here of dipping down across over the last row. So you get, I don't know what stitch that's called, but I had a lot of fun working this one up. I have some pictures and I'll include them here so you can see it in full length and me clowning around wearing it. So enjoy those and I'll come back to tell you what I used in my yarn and also my hook size. So this wonderful chevron-y border here that I created in this bronze color as well as this turquoise, I alternated over 3 rows. I kind of like did 3 rows of the bronze, 1 of the turquoise, 3 rows of the bronze, 1 of the turquoise. So I like the texture. The texture is very 3-dimensional, so there is raised bits in there as well. The yarn that I used in the 2 sections here were a gifted yarn from Crystal over at Bag a Day. Hi Crystal, I love this yarn so much. It has the most interesting sheen to it, but also a little bit of a crunch to it. I'm not too sure, but it's got a cold touch. Now, that cold touch might be the fact of what it is, like the contents of it, but it is hand dyed yarn by Teresa Rooch Designs. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, but if I can get that to focus, you can see a little bit about where the dyer is, and then this hank is, the information here is on the hank. Really, really nice and shiny. I actually used almost the full hank, so I got that one as a spare for the next time. And this was what was left over. So I'm going to say that's probably around maybe 10 grams, not quite 10 grams of yarn left for another project. I paired it with Knit Picks Hawthorn fingering weight yarn in the colorway Spring Water. And I had used that in another shawl that I had knitted up. And this is all that's left from, I'm going to say I had 50 grams of it left. And now I only have like around 4 grams. So it's almost all done. And this part here, where it's the arcade stitch, is in the Yarn Bee collection. It is called Soft and Sleek DK. It's the low peel fiber. The colorway is called Linen, and I finished the whole ball of it. And the last little bit, I had scraps left over from a Yarn Bee Rhapsody, and it was a cake in a colorway called Ivy League. So I used the last 2 rows of the arcade stitch here to just get that extra yarn out of my stash. And it sort of suits nicely. There's a little bit of blue quality in the last 2 rows. So the linen is more of a warmer neutral, and then the Ivy League has a little bit more of a blue-gray in it. So I thought that worked out fine, and I got to use some of my stash. So what do you think? I really enjoyed making it, and I think I would make another one, and I might actually try and write the instructions down sometime in the future. So if you guys want to make it, then I'll have a record of what to do. No promises when that's going to happen because life's a little bit crazy right now, but I really enjoyed making this. So let's now talk about works in progress. This one that I've got has been around in my brain for a good number of years. It started off with me using up a yarn that I was unhappy with the product that I had created. I had knitted up a sweater and I wasn't happy with the speckling choice of yarn for this sweater. It was like speckled yarn all the way throughout, and it was just a little too skin tone for me, and it washed me out a little bit. It wasn't one of my faves, and I did learn a lot from the pattern that I used at the time, but I wanted to rip it back and use the yarn for a sweater, but I wanted to combine it with another yarn so that I would be able to use up the nice soft colors, but have another yarn introduced with it so that it would break up the speckling a little bit. So all I had left from the original sweater that I frogged are now the sleeves. So as you can see, this yarn is speckled, and it is the Lion Brand's yarn called Comfy Cotton Blend in the colorway Driftwood. And I've used a 4.5 set of knitting needles, and this is what's left of the sweater. I thought, well, maybe one day I might want to use these for the sleeves of another sweater, but do a different color bib, like a raglan styled baseball shirt, having a colorful front back, and then have these sleeves. I'm not sure how, what's going to be done with these sleeves, but if you have any suggestions, perhaps maybe you can write them down in the comment section of this video. So this is the original sweater, what's left of it. And I got myself a couple of large balls like this after frogging the main body section of that sweater. When I was gifted this yarn from my hubby at Christmas? No, it was my birthday. 2 years ago, I thought this would be a great pairing. I thought about using this and this together to make my redo sweater and choose a different stitch so that I could make a new fabric than just having the speckle yarn. And this is called Serendipity Tweed by Brown Sheep Company, and it is kind of like a 3-weight yarn. Really like it. It's nice and soft, and I did a test on what kind of fabric I wanted to make in a hat, and I knew I wanted to learn how to do slip stitching at this point when I had these two yarns together, and I wanted to do a rib slip stitch technique. And earlier on in the year, I had completed this as a little swatch to see whether I liked the two yarns together. And the interesting thing about slip stitching is that you can elect to have one or the other color being the dominant or the main color, and then choose the other one for the contrast. So the bottom section here is the Lion Brand being the main color with the blue being the contrast. Then I switched up the two in the way that you use the slip stitches, and I chose the blue color as being the more dominant or the main color, and then the speckle just being the secondary. I really liked this style of the use of the two yarns, and I got a chance to try out some needles as well, because slip stitches creates a little bit of an unpredictable tension in your fabric, because you are slipping the float stitch to the back or the front of the work, so it's kind of leaping over stitches, so to speak, so you don't really understand the tension as you would normally do with plain stockinette or garter stitching. So 4.5 millimeters. I did like the fabric, but I wanted to go up a size and go to my 5 millimeter set of knitting needles for the jumper, the sweater. And so here it is here. Da, 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 da. I am up to the arm. So I've done the neck, I've done all my raglan increases, I've broken for the main body, like the sleeves, and I've completed the body and the brim here of the waistband. And I used a 375 millimeter set of needles for the banding up here and also in the waistband. And the main body with this slip stitching technique is in a 5mm knitting needle. Really, really enjoy the color. Now I'm more happier with the speckling. It's sort of broken it up a little bit. And just to show you the difference between the original speckle and what I got now, that's the, try and show you here. That's the difference. So you can see it has a lot more of that vibrant blue, and it has just slight speckling. It's not as speckly as the original sweater that I had made. So I really like this, and the stitching is really nice for stretching. It has a great stretch elasticity to it, and I absolutely enjoy making this. In the future, what I'll do when I finish this garment, I will have a montage of where I started, where I got the yarn from, where I started this piece, and all the way through to the completion. So you'll see the story of it. The nice thing that I did with the collar, which I found a real treat, and I hadn't done this before, was I did a provisional cast on, and I knitted all the way up and around. I did the 1x1 ribbing, and then it turns around, and then where these stitches are here, I picked up all the live stitches to make a tube. So it is, I don't know what they call that. Maybe I don't know, tubular cast on? I have no idea. But it shows that the stitch work goes around completely, and where it is joined back up with the live stitches where the provisional cast on was, and then I just continue knitting. There is a different number count of what I casted on with the neck to the number of stitches where I pick up, only because I knew I need a certain number to go across and create my raglan, and it wasn't the same amount of numbers on the original neck. So I had to knit a couple together, and then I was happy with the number of stitches that I had on my needles after the collar was done for creating with the new needle size, and how much by calculation was going to be created for the width of the arms to make their way down to create the holes, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I really like it. What do you think? It's got a beautiful texture, and it's very, very squishy, and it's going to be quite warm. So that is project number 1, my work in progress. The second whip that I have is, I just have to stop the camera because I have to get the stuff. Back again. I'm losing my light really rapidly because it's around 6 o'clock in the evening, so the light is going down. This pattern that is my next work in progress, I found online. It's a paid for pattern, and it is called Sparklight Wrap. Is it there? It's in black and white, and it's by Erin Kurup. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name incorrect, but I loved the style of lace work in this piece, and I must admit I did change up one of the sections. So one of the sections is a different pattern to the scarf, but the lace work for one section is going to be throughout the piece. Now the yarn that I'm using is a gifted yarn as well by a friend. You know who you are. My friend wants to remain anonymous, so I am granting that. But in a wonderful box of yarn was this Shipji's Sky Light set. And it came in these wonderful mini sets of colors here. And I got 2 of them. This one I didn't need for the pattern, but I am using one complete box for the pattern with a couple of leftover colors because it doesn't require all, I think it's all 9. No, there's 7 colors. And I believe these kits are 9 colors, so there's like 2 colors left over that I didn't need to use. But this is one complete kit that I have not cut into yet, but I'll show you what happens with the pattern that I'm choosing to do, and I'll talk to you more about the colors as well. So here it is here. It is on the bias, so it knits up with an angle and the pattern here is within the pattern guidelines of the Sparklight wrap. And then these sections here with the bars of color, and then it's like this eyelet sort of texture. They're the things that I've added in. It doesn't have that in the pattern, but it has a different stitch that I found really hard to do with the yarn, because it's a cotton based and it doesn't have any stretch. So I had to opt for something else because the yarn wasn't working with that stitch. So I needed to come up with another idea, but I really wanted to do the lace work and the pattern. So I'm changing up that section. So it'll be 7 sections like this in the different color breakdowns. And this barrier here, or I'd say the section that breaks those lace works up, will be the stripy sections. I'm using a consistent yarn for the stripy sections, and it is Knit Picks Hawthorn kettle dyed yarn in the fingering weight, and the color is called Lent. So it's this nice purpley ink gray tones. Really, really lovely with the blues and greens that are going to be coming up in the little minis that I'm using. Yeah, so while my mum was here, we had a lot of fun in the yarn room, and she was eager to do as much, I guess, time in the yarn room as she could, because she was, surprisingly, she knew how to knit. I did not know this about my mother, but she helped me roll up a lot of these mini balls because I was gonna have to deal with it at some point. So as I was knitting and stitching, and she was rolling up these balls, so we had a little fun time in the yarn room together. So I've used up one of the balls already, and I'm on my second color, and there are these 5. So I've numbered them because they're all going to go into the different orders. There we go, one's already done. So I will talk about the ordering of the colors and the color names at the end of the make, but these are yet to come in all their sequences. And as you can tell, Mum has put the labels on so that I can always find out what the names are called, and I've numbered them so that you can see what number comes next. And the bag is kind of very messy because all of these yarns and labels are kind of getting all tangled, so I'm not going to be pulling them out often until right at the end when I have just the labels and I can tell you what the colors are called. But right now I can tell you one color that's finished, and it is color number 110, called Cirrus. So I guess Cirrus is the, try and get that in focus, it's so tiny. Cirrus is this color here, and I am working up color 2, which I will give you the name of once I finish it. But yeah, again, a beautiful lacy with wonderful drape, and I'm using my Chagu stainless steel needles, 3.5 millimeters. So that's what I'm using. And it's so drapey, really, really lovely. Now onto some happy mail. I do have some other whips that I'm going to save for later down the way. I have a new to me yarn store that I found in Bulgaria, and I absolutely loved the yarn that I ordered and paid for from them, and I wanted to make up some samples. So when I do that video, I'll have some like things to show and talk about with the yarn that I've purchased. But happy mail, this is the first one. It came in this wonderful floral patterned packaging. You know, gone are the days of the boring brown paper packaging or the, I don't know, the plain color. I really dig the funkiness of these packages. It comes from Judy, and Judy does have a YouTube channel here. Her YouTube channel name is Judy's Creations in Crochet. Hi, Judy. And inside the package was a wonderful card here. Words. I have read the inscription, but I won't read it here out on video. But I want to say, Judy, I was racking my brain over what on earth was in the package when you sent me a email saying, I have something in my stash that I want to share with you. You did mention it in a video back in the past that you can no longer get this yarn, and you said that you loved it. So I was thinking, what was the yarn that I was talking about? When I opened up the package, I thought, holy smokes, this video was probably when I first started dyeing, and maybe, I don't know, 2020, around March, April of 2020. So what is that? That's like over 2 years ago. I love this yarn to dye. It's a yarn from Hobbii. And then when they shut down, they came back again with a new website, and I think about maybe 6 months later, and I was eager to buy more of the yarn to dye, but I couldn't find it anymore on their website. So Judy had some in her stash and she sent it to me. I want to say thank you so much. It's so sweet and kind of you to recall so far back in the history of urban yarn that I had once talked about this yarn. And it is the Madame Tricot Paris, the Cashmere Gold. Now they do have a variety of different yarns in this brand, but the Cashmere Gold is I can't find it anymore. I don't know what they've done with it, but it's super, super soft. It's in a nice plain color, like a neutral base where I can dye colors and it will take the color very nicely. And it is a combination of acrylic with wool and a small amount of cashmere. So there's 5% of cashmere in there. I absolutely love this yarn. I have it in other colors in my stash, but not the base here that I can over dye. And I got 3 of them. So when I do dye this is gonna make a really nice shawl, or I can maybe dye different colors to do, you know, cowl, you know, something in a cowl shape kind of object. I love them so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Put those back in that wonderful package and find a spot for those on my shelves for sure. The next wonderful and generous gift. By the way, there's no need to send me anything. I do appreciate everything that I get, and I never expect anything. The next happy mail was sent by my friend Belinda, and it was in a huge box filled to the gills. Now, some of this I've been asked not to show. I will, you know, honor the wishes of the person who gifted the contents of the box, but some of it was allowed for me to show as the gift. And I just want to say what a wonderful letter that I got and I received from Belinda. It was very heart-touching, and the story behind it was amazing. I love the yarn community so much. There is such a connection that interweaves all of us. It's not always shown like externally, but somewhere along the line we all share a similar love for yarn and crafting, and that joins us together. So the box that I'm going to show you, these came from Belinda's stash, and she thought of me when she was putting them into the box that I received. And oh my, she knows me so well. So It is 3 hanks of Noro, and this yarn is called Kumo, Kumo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And just look at the beautiful colors. I absolutely love this neutral, and the exciting part about it is the marl. I just like the different transitions there of the variance of color and how it's served up in this wonderful twist. It's really, really soft yarn because Noro sometimes has that tendency to have ranges of yarn that is quite rustic, and I like the rustic yarn too, but this one is a slightly softer than what their usual yarn is like. And it is a combination of 35% cotton, 41% viscose, 12% silk, and 12% wool. It is 3 weight yarn, so DK weight. The color is number 10, and they're saying here to hand wash and lay flat to dry. You get 100 grams in each of these hanks, 360 meters. I'm guessing it might be around 380 yards, and I have enough there to do another maybe sweater vest or I don't know, I've been thinking about wanting to do a hoodie lately, maybe a sweater vest hoodie, and I could pair that with another yarn similar to the jumper that I just showed you and do a slip stitch style technique with a bright color and this yarn. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Belinda. The other part that I could show you is the Comfy Cotton blend, which is so interesting because I just used the Comfy Cotton blend in that jumper as well. And I got 3 cakes of it, and everyone probably knows what the Comfy Cotton blend is all about. It's from Lime brand, and it is a cotton acrylic blend. It has 200 grams in it, each cake, giving me 392 yards or 358 meters. It is one that you can machine wash and tumble dry, considered a 3 weight yarn, so it's a DK, and it marls in these wonderful different colors. This speckling is a little different. The colors are different than my driftwood colorway. This one is called Chai Latte, and it has more of the peachy colors in it, slight yellow and gray. Really nice, and it's super duper soft. So I got 3, enough to perhaps maybe make another sweater in the slip stitch kind of technique. But thank you so much for that. The rest of the stuff in Belinda's box I won't share with you, but Belinda, I want to say thank you so much for thinking of me when you shared all of those wonderful things in the box and in the letter as well. It just means so much to me. Thank you, thank you. The next Happy Mail was a pattern that I received electronically from a test knitter that helped me with my bush tracker beanie, and this is Jane. So I want to say thank you, Jane, for this wonderful pattern. Now I won't be able to show you the front cover of it because it does showcase some of the pattern instructions, but I will fold it over, and it is not showing much in the pattern itself, but this is a slip stitch color work between 2 colors. And Jane showed me the start of her one. I fell in love with it. So she went and she surprised me with a gift waiting for me in my Ravelry account, saying that she had purchased me the pattern. And I absolutely love the pattern. I've started it, but I'm not going to show it until I'm happy with the colors. I've just started some testing right now, and it is called the Maruno Squares Boomerang Shawl, and it is by Stitched Nerd Design. I'll also link it down below in case you want to go and take a look, but there's so many different colors choices. I think in Ravelry, if you click on the projects, the window has 51 different color combinations of people who have done this shawl, and it looks Brilliant. So thank you so much for that, Jane. So that leads me up to talking a little bit about what I've been up to in the community since, I guess, the last time that we did a catch up. Now, I'm going to dedicate a whole video to things that me and my folks did while they were here for the 5 weeks. But before that, before they came, me and hubby did a few things here. And also we've just done a few things extra since my family has gone back to Australia. So they include, we took a trip to Vancouver and we celebrated a family member's birthday party. We got a chance to catch up with friends. So we had some wonderful dinners and some drinks, which was awesome. And I love my friends dearly from Vancouver, and I get to see them every once in a while. So it's awesome because I do miss them. But when I come back home with hubby, we know we made the right decision on the place where we landed because it's beautiful here. It has so much for us to do in nature, and the people are super friendly as well around our little community. So yeah, we also did some festivals where they shut the streets down here in our community and they don't let the cars go down, but we had a chance to peruse all of the stalls. Now, some of these stalls were the businesses setting up to, you know, give a chance of the community to meet and greet them, to try their wares, you know, their food, to sample their goods and all that sort of thing. So it was a lot of fun. And there were some crafty people there as well who had paid for tables, who had ferrule knitting. They had amazing knitted and crocheted wares. I had so much fun going through all of the different knickknacks that they had, and I got myself a couple of really discounted and good quality pom-poms. So the furry variety. So I got a couple of those and I thought, yay, I came out a winner. The other thing that we had done just yesterday that I want to flag as well, because I've got some great footage of it, is that me, hubby, his brother and his brother's wife went floating down the Puntledge River, which is the main river that comes through Courtenay Comox. And I had so much fun. We rented these inner tubes. You just sort of sit on them and you can either string them all together or you could, you know, float down on your own. And it's only open to do that for a certain time of the year when the river is low and not running so fast. So the months of August, I think it started probably in July, August and September, there's that window of chance to go down slow, kind of meandering, a little bit of wrap. It's not too crazy, but the trip took around an hour and 20 minutes from the hatchery all the way down to the downtown core, where you walk up a set of concrete stairs and the shop is right there to return the floaties. So we had a lot of fun, and I'll include the footage at the end. The last thing that I got to talk about here is we had some cabin time before my folks got to from Australia and came to visit. So me and Chad were doing a little bit of boating. We did some swimming in the lake at the cabin, and that was a lot of fun too. So that catches you up on what I've been up to, and nice times with family, with friends. I hope that you're also enjoying your summer if you're in the northern hemisphere, and your winter if you're in the southern hemisphere. So enjoying time with family, and if you've had any breaks or holidays, that you've had some safe travels. Now I'm going to talk to you about some mini series that me and hubby have been watching. I've been stitching away to a lot of these movies and mini series that I found compelling and very interesting from a psychological point of view, but these might not be the cup of tea for everyone. But if you do like more of the true crime or crime investigation or sci-fi style kind of miniseries, these ones might be for you. And I've got one heartfelt one as well, which talks about coming of age and understanding sexuality and all that sort of thing. So the first one is Blackbird. Now, Blackbird is a mini-series. I think there's probably 7 episodes in the mini-series. It looks at a series of situations where a criminal has been caught but given the opportunity to get a pass, I guess, if he becomes an informant for the police. So he wants to, they want him to go into a maximum security prison and befriend a supposedly or allegedly serial killer. At the time, you don't know whether or not he is the perpetrator or, yeah, there's sort of questions there, and they want him to befriend this person so that he can extract a confession out of him. So the series goes along, and I won't spoil it for you on what happens and whether or not this person is in fact or not in fact the serial killer. So you need to watch it to find out yourself. So you get to see a little bit of, I guess, flash imagery of some things that are maybe a little gruesome, but they're done in a way where it's kind of a not so graphic, but it is a thrilling type movie, and there is a couple of scenes that are a little violent, so just to flag that as well. The For All Mankind is a series. It's not a mini series, but it's up to season 3 right now, or 3 or 4. And me and hubby finished that. We binge watch it as soon as it comes out. We watch one episode, they release another one, we watch that one straight away. It's like the old time days when you kind of wait around for it. And if we miss a couple and they banked up, we will splurge them and just binge them all at once. So that's a great sci-fi-ish kind of, you know, it looks at space race, it looks at journeys to Mars and the politics involved. Now, the origin of this, when it first started off with a history similar to us here on Earth, and taking a fork in the road, so to speak, when man went to moon. And the fork is that the storyline branches off from the real version of what happened in reality, and it takes a journey. But what if something happened from that moment that it was a different situation? And then so in tow with that, you hear of that John Lennon is still alive, and you hear of that some politicians don't make it to presidency. So there is an interesting overlap there of a different branch of history that would have happened if it was supposedly at this one instance it went a different direction. The last one is Heartstopper, which is a really cute coming of age mini series, and the actors are, I think they're portraying high school, maybe 16, 17-year-olds, and all of the feelings that go on, all of the dynamics between different certain ideals of individuals at that age. It's quite a charming, and I'm going to say it's lovely. So if you're interested in watching something that sort of deals with all of the shenanigans of like 16, 17-year-olds questioning their sexuality and whatnot, like going to parties and all that sort of thing, then Heartstoppers might be for you. And with that catches you up on all of my notes that I've taken in my little journal. I have so many wonderful things to catch you up on because of the delay of videoing them. I haven't stopped. I've continued to make, and I've continued to purchase things like here at Mr. Hank Taylor. And I've got some more things to show you as well of my purchases. So with that, I wish you all a great week. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next show. Bye for now.